All right, 65-52, Michigan defeats Maryland today, Sam. It was a huge win for the Wolverines, considering they just came off their worst loss of the season at Penn State. They came out firing it. They took a 14-2 lead right off the jump. They got some easy buckets. Simpson hits a three, which is a rarity, and then Brazdikis hits a three. Just some easy points, and then they shut down Bruno Fernando in the first half. Really, it was all Michigan early on.
Yeah, I think for Michigan, it was about the last game. They went out in that Penn State game, and you heard Charles Matthews say afterward, he said they got pumped. John Beilein said he heard some words in that locker room that he was really encouraged by about how seriously they took that loss. So he had no doubt they were going to come out and be very strong defensively, very focused. I thought the way they started offensively, it couldn't have been any better. You mentioned the three from X, the three from Ignaz Brazdikis, and then the first couple of buckets from Charles Matthews were around the rim, including that fadeaway that I think could be a staple for him. So a team that came out really hard on both ends of the floor. Particularly impressed with how well they defended Bruno Fernando in the first half of that game. I said heading into this game, he's a really good player. He's going to get his at times, but I think while he's a better athlete than Ethan Happ, if we compare it to last Saturday's matchup, better athlete than Ethan Happ, but not as hard a matchup. I mean, Ethan Happ's a tougher matchup. But you knew he was going to get his. Bruno Fernando came out strong in the second half and really helped Maryland make it a game.
Yeah, Michigan took the 9-point halftime lead, and then Maryland cut it to 3 points on some outside shooting from Collin and Smith. Then you had that key sequence. Jordan Poole with the dribble drive got the layup, and then Xavier Simpson hits another three, 2 for 2 today. Yeah. They left him wide open, and he made them pay.
Yeah, what does it say when Xavier Simpson is your most efficient three-point shooter on the day? And that was the deal, but just another really strong floor game for their leader. John Beilein said it after the game. As leadership goes, they haven't had a better one than Xavier Simpson. The 12 points, 8 assists in the game, 5 big rebounds, infusing confidence in his teammates. Look, John Teske missed his first 6 threes today. His first 6 threes. And that pick and pop is going to be there. And I think that's kind of the point. It's not like you can be, I'm not going to shoot that, because they're going to keep leaving you open. So the 7th time, he knocks one down, and part of that is Xavier Simpson saying, man, keep shooting. Same thing with Isaiah Livers. It felt like Isaiah Livers was out there hunting the shot more. And I commented during the game, John Beilein must have told Zay to hunt more. No, it was X. X says, hey, you got to hunt more coming off the bench. So that leadership is a real tangible thing. And the same thing with Charles Matthews. I mean, close second or a 1A as far as leadership is concerned for Michigan is Charles Matthews. He was the guy that, in the media after the Penn State game said, we got punked, and is really holding his teammates accountable. Doesn't say a lot of words, but when he says them, they really mean something. And look at what he does defensively. Even in the stretch of the season where he was struggling offensively, defensively, he was still there. And then today, great stat from John Beilein, he shut out every opponent he guarded today.
He came
with
to play.
The exception being the final bucket, or the final sort of offensive possession he guarded. He didn't want to foul, and they got a bucket. But other than that, he shut out every man he guarded, including Collin, who had a really tough game. And his toughest times out there offensively came against Charles Matthews.
So Michigan gets the win today. They get some time to rest those legs, because you saw it in some of the guys' shots. Teske, for one, was short on a lot of his shots. They go to Minnesota this Thursday at the Barn. It's never an easy place to play at. Then they get a few days off, and in 8 days from now, Michigan plays host to their rival, Michigan State. So they got some two key Big Ten games coming up, and they got everything on the table.
Yeah, physical, keeping Minnesota off the glass. It's always, to me, what that game is predicated upon. They are a squad that can really grind you, and especially on that glass, be really tough to deal with. But Michigan did a really good job of stymieing them here. Have to be more of the same. And I just feel like from an effort and intensity and focus standpoint, we've seen Michigan's bad game.
Right.
That was Penn State. And John Beilein said it's very hard to maintain the level in those areas. Offense aside, the things that this team counts as givens, defense, effort, focus, even for a team as dialed in as this one, it's going to be tough to do that for 32 games. But they got that out of their system. I think they'll be fine and ready to go at Minnesota. Michigan State, you know how they're going to guard you. This is why that last three for John Teske was so important. It's why Isaiah Livers hunting his shot. was so important. Those guys are going to be key offensive guys in that game next year. You watch and see how Michigan State tries to guard Michigan. Those guys are going to be left open. Teske in particular. And then, of course, it'll be the matchup. It'll be Xavier Simpson versus Cassius Winston, a matchup that X won twice last year. Cassius Winston has something to prove in that game, so we'll see how it goes. But you got to like Michigan, how they bounce back in this game today. Really feel good about how they're gonna be next week. And then the very last thing, Josh, that we didn't mention, the two freshmen got quality minutes today. Brandon Johns got in early, got some key minutes. You're gonna need him. You got to start growing him up with court credibility as opposed to practice credibility. And the same thing with David Julius. He got in early in the game. He was the first guard off the bench. And then he got 5 key minutes at the end of the game with X, or at the end of the first half when X got in foul trouble, where he got a bucket, barely missed the 3, and Cowan didn't score in that stretch. So big minutes, 5 key minutes for David Julius at the end of the first half.
All right, and we'll end. Michigan got the key win today. They got 4 days prepared for Minnesota, but that's going to wrap up our coverage here from the Chrysler Center.